Police investigate a pair of South Side stabbing incidents. Newly elected members of the Founders Museum Board call it quits. And damaging new revelations in the Rob Ford scandal. Good evening and thank you for joining us. Two men remain in hospital this evening following a double stabbing incident on the city's south side early this morning.
The pair were found at separate locations, but police say they have determined the men were known to each other and the stabbings are connected. Officers on patrol were stopped by a woman shortly after 3:30 this morning and told about a man bleeding in a South May Street apartment. They then found a 21-year-old in the building who had been stabbed several times. This was followed shortly after by a 911 call over an intruder at a South Herald Street home. Officers responding to that call found a 24-year-old man in the home who had suffered several stab wounds to his neck. Both individuals were taken to hospital with what are described as non-life-threatening injuries. Police say alcohol played a role in the incident, and they hope to be able to release more information tomorrow after speaking with the two men involved.
The sentencing of a Thunder Bay man found guilty of second-degree murder in the death of 65-year-old Adam Yellowhead has been postponed until December. 34-year-old Joseph Wesley was supposed to be sentenced at the Superior Court of Justice this afternoon, but Judge Bruce Fitzpatrick has asked for more time. Details of his client's life were brought forward today by Wesley's lawyer, Christopher Watkins. That information is something that Justice Fitzpatrick says must be taken into consideration when it comes to his sentencing. Watkins is asking for his client to serve 3 to 6 years in a correctional institute where he can receive psychiatric help. Crown Attorney Sherry Frenette is asking for a 10 to 12-year sentence. Wesley also took the stand today to apologize to the victim's family and to say that he never meant to hurt anyone that evening. He will now be sentenced on December 30th.
An Atikokan woman has been charged following a 6-month-long investigation into the theft of prescription drugs. The OPP says it was alerted to the thefts from the Atikokan General Hospital Pharmacy in April. As a result of their investigation, a hospital employee has been charged with theft under $5,000 and criminal breach of trust. 39-year-old Cynthia Carolyn King has been released from custody and will next appear in Atikokan Provincial Court on December 12th.
There is more trouble for Thunder Bay's Founders Museum. The latest setback for the tourist attraction has been the mass resignation of the organization's 5-member board, a group that was elected just a few weeks ago. The move comes amid ongoing concerns over the potential for board members to be saddled with responsibility for the accrued debt of the organization. That debt currently sits at about $45,000. Former board member Lucy Klooster, who says the group will now act simply as volunteers as they attempt to sort out the Founders Museum's problems.
I believe we can, but our main objective at the present time is not to fundraise today, but to spend a month or so clearing everything up, and then we can go to the public and say, look, we have this wonderful museum, it's all cleared up, there is no liability for anyone, and we're going to move forward.
The volunteer group says they will now be consulting with lawyers before making their next move.
A new manufacturing facility that has been billed as a first of its kind in Canada received a financial boost today. The province has announced $1 million in funding for Geraldton-based Steep Building Systems. Dennis Ward has more.
Steep Building Systems' new manufacturing facility in downtown Geraldton is expected to create 50 jobs. The plant will produce energy-efficient insulated panels that are recyclable, made from organic materials, and are highly resistant to mold and heat. Michael Gravel announced the $1 million provincial investment into the operation.
We know that indeed the market is there for this. It's all part of a larger process of building homes and preparing, quite frankly, for what we expect to be increased needs, particularly in the greenstone area.
The steel insulated panels are used in residential and commercial construction. President James Kennedy says there has already been great interest from Latin American countries where the company has signed contracts. The new panel system was recently used to construct the walls for a high school addition in Long Lake 58. Gravel likes the unique operation.
We are certainly excited about the mining and the forestry opportunities across the Northwest. Here we have a different kind of manufacturing opportunity in northwestern Ontario, specifically in the Greenstone area, which is reflective of the needs that we are seeing developing in that part of the Northwest.
Gravel also announced $100,000 for the municipality of Greenstone. They want to look at their ability to get involved in new mineral development projects. Dennis Ward, TBT News.
At Queen's Park, detectives will be touring the Premier's office tonight as part of a probe into the destruction of emails on the government's scrapping of 2 gas plants. OPP anti-rackets investigators are following up on complaints from the Progressive Conservatives that the emails were intentionally deleted by senior staff in former Premier Dalton McGuinty's office. Ontario's Privacy Commissioner found top Liberals in McGuinty's office broke the law when they deleted emails on the cancelled plants in Oakville and Mississauga prior to the 2011 election. The opposition parties say the emails were wiped out to cover up the true cost of killing the gas plants.
Every child from every family, no matter of their income level, should have a toy to play with at Christmas. That's the premise that's guided the Thunder Bay Professional Firefighters Toys for Tots campaign since its inception back in the 1950s. This year's toy drive kicked off earlier today. For the next 5 weeks, local firefighters will be stationed near the food court in the Inner City Shopping Centre, accepting cash donations, which will be used to buy thousands of toys for children in need. Ryan Panazzo has more.
Every year, local firefighters collect thousands for needy children through Toys for Tots. That money is then turned over to Thunder Bay Christmas Cheer and in turn used to buy gifts for kids of families living below the poverty line. Through December 20th, firefighters will be stationed inside Inner City Mall collecting monetary donations. For Chair Paul Penna, the cause is vitally important. He says every child needs something to look forward to over the holidays.
We all know how important, when we were children, Christmas present was and how important Christmas was. I just can't imagine going through Christmas without some kind of significant present, and that's what we're doing for the kids who aren't so lucky.
For parents struggling through financial difficulties, the holidays can be particularly trying, and knowing that they don't have to choose one over the other, food or presents for their children,
they're able to see the glee in their eyes.
It's a real load off their troubled mind, says Christmas Cheer chairperson Jolene Kemp. And she adds, most parents are quick to show their gratitude.
We've had many families who have come in circumstances. One year they need our help, the next year they're able to help us. They come and they say thank you. They said they don't know what they would have done without us. And they are very, very grateful. That's what it's all about.
This year's event kicked off with a check presentation from local Tim Hortons stores. Nearly $40,000 was raised for Toys for Tots through their recent Smile Cookie campaign.
Every year the guests are waiting for it. When is Smile Cookie? They're asking. They know now. It's become, part of the kickoff to Christmas, and they know it.
What a way to start, right? So we're well on our way now and feeling really confident that we're gonna reach our goal.
That goal to match last year's Toys for Tots total of more than $150,000. Ryan Bonazzo, TBT News.
Games like Foursquare and Snakes and Ladders take us all back to our childhood and how much fun we had playing with friends. Both of those games are being revived in new playgrounds that have been built by the Thunder Bay District Social Services Board. The new play areas have been built on Windsor Street and Limbrick Place. The natural playgrounds feature bike tracks, cedar post seats, an art wall, and yes, a giant snakes and ladder board. DSAB invested $150,000 in the project and got feedback from tenants about what they wanted to see in the new construction. And it appears the playgrounds are a hit.
And I like that part because you can do it on the roof and you can climb those. So it's pretty fun playing with it.
They have to use their imagination to play on the stuff and create sort of a learning environment for them, and they can interact with it, and they climb poles and slide. And I noticed that it was flat here apparently before, and so we put in mounds, so in the wintertime they'll have little places where they can slide.
Katamaki adds a third playground at the housing units on John Street should be complete by next spring.
The City of Dryden has a new Chief Administrative Officer. Andre Larrabee will assume the position starting next week. Larrabee brings 36 years of experience in management and finance to the job in both the public and private sector. Most recently, the Ottawa native has been working as a senior administrative officer for the Nunavut territory. Larrabee succeeds Joe Vancouverden, who resigned from the post back in March.
The hazards of winter driving aren't quite upon us just yet, but before the first snow flies, the Ontario Road Builders Association and the OPP are reminding drivers about the dangers of trying to pass snowplows on the highway. This is the second year the organizations have promoted their campaign entitled Let Us Lead the Way. There are a handful of collisions involving snowplows here in the city and around the region every winter, and they usually involve some sort of passing maneuver. People are being urged to slow down when they see a flashing blue light in front of them. Executive Director of the ORBA, Jeff Wilkinson, says exercising some patience is the best option.
The road ahead of these plows is in worse condition than what's behind them, so we have to keep that in mind as well. So often people are thinking that they just want to get around these snow plows, but we have to remember that they're out there for a reason, and that's because the roads are in dangerous condition. So we want to slow down, we want to let those plows lead the way.
Obviously the highways aren't in good shape, so they need to bring them back into good shape. And so that's why they're there. So just exercise a little bit of patience and caution. And again, if they're out there working, plowing snow, do we really need to be out there? Maybe we need to stay home and let them work, and then we go out the next day.
There are about 1,000 snowplows and sand spreaders that will be out clearing highways across the province this winter.
Despite our cooler temperatures over the last little while, there is not a drop of snow in sight for skiers and snowboarders, but the staff at Loch Lomond are working to change that. Over the past 3 nights, crews at the ski hill have been hard at work creating their own snow to help jumpstart the season. With 19 snowmaking guns in their arsenal, they believe they are well on their way to having some runs open by this weekend. As long as there's no rain, the weather stays slightly chilly, and the wind doesn't pick up too much, the guns will have the mountain covered in good hard snow. Owner Ward Bond says a lot of people are anxious to get the season started.
All the time. The phone rings off the hook this time of the year because people are so excited about getting out here. It's so weird because last year in April we had so much snow, and even in May, and we had all our runs open, but we didn't have any people. But now if we can get one little run open, we'll have 1,000 people out here. It's just incredible.
The call will be made Friday as to whether the hill will be open to the public.